are in the Audioholics Smart House, boots on the ground. This is the family room system. We're looking at a Paradigm Premier Series speakers. Hey folks, I'm DELLASALA with Audioholics, and I'm so happy today to be doing more Audioholics Smart Home videos for you guys. We're in the family room here, as I said before, and we've been listening to this system. This is the first system we got set up. It's by Paradigm. It's a 5.2.4 system, and we're featuring the Paradigm Premier 800F towers, which we have here, the 500C center channel, the Elite 65R in-ceiling speakers, 4 of those for Atmos, and the Elite 80-A for the surround channels, which are an 8-inch angled baffle speaker that we put in the ceiling to use as surround. Now for the bass, we're doing 2 JL Audio in-wall 13-inch subwoofers, which are behind these speakers. And all I could tell you is I am incredibly thrilled and pleased with the sound system of this entire system. Anybody that comes here, we got the Valencia couches here, the Zolric, when they sit down, they get immersed, whether it's with music or whether it's with movies. And I want to give you a little bit information about these speakers. I want to focus on these speakers here. We've been using them for about 5 months. These were reviewed by James Larson about maybe about 2 years ago. And I remember in his review, he said he can't find any faults with the speaker at this price point. Now the 800Fs retail for $2,000 a pair. They're a 3-way design. They have 2 6.5-inch graphite injected polypropylene woofers. They have a 6-inch mid-range, and they have a 1-inch aluminum dome tweeter. Now some of the unique attributes on this speaker, as you can see here with the little perforated lens, it's called their PPT lens. They put this on top of the mid-range driver, and in a sense it acts like a phase plug. So it prevents on-axis beaming. It prevents cone filtering that can happen with the higher frequencies when they're emanating from different parts of the cone. You can look at it, it's basically a low-pass filter when you get into the center of the cone of the lens. Now, the one cool thing about this that has an advantage over a typical phase plug. A phase plug I'm talking about, you see on some drivers where the center point of the driver doesn't move. It's like kind of like a missile shape, right? So the advantage of a phase plug is it reduces cone mass, it allows some heat sinking, it allows the driver to play higher up in frequency, typically. So the disadvantage with a phase plug is you don't tend to get as much output in the bass area, and you also can get some chuffing if it's playing really hard. Well, you don't get any of that with this, because this is basically their 6.5-inch mid-range driver, and they just put this lens on it to act like the phase plug. They do the same thing with the tweeter, and the other benefit of these two things here is it protects the driver so nobody can stick their fingers and push in a cone. So I like the look of the speaker. This technology is borrowed from their Persona series, which is their much more expensive line. It's their Premier series. We reviewed those several years ago. Incredible speakers. You're getting some of that technology built into this speaker. The other thing this has is they're called their Art Wedge surround. It's basically an elliptical inverted surround. And they claim by doing this, by putting the wedge, by doing the inversion of the surround, it gets 1.5 times the excursion. It allows up to 3 dB more dynamic output. I can tell you, before I set up this whole system into surround sound, I was just listening to these 2 speakers, the 2 Premier 800Fs. We were using the Denon PMA A110 integrated amplifier. We were listening to music, whether we were streaming on Tidal, or we were streaming on Apple Music, or we were watching movies. Like we watched the entire Hamilton production. It was the first time I actually got to hear it. And people were sitting here, they could not believe how much sound we were getting out of these 2 speakers. My sister-in-law actually thought we had the surround system already working. So I like what these speakers do in this room. I think the lens actually helps better with imaging. I feel like the speakers image really well. I get a really strong phantom center from them when I'm sitting, not even at the sweet spot. I have a pretty wide area of where you get that phantom center with these speakers. The other thing I like about these speakers is they're very tonally neutral. Now, in the past, I've heard other Paradigm lines where they have kind of a more forward sound in the treble. Some people prefer that, some people like more neutral. I'm kind of in the middle. I kind of like to have the neutral, and if I want to add more brightness, I could do that. These speakers just sound tonally very accurate. They don't have a massive amount of bass output. They're usable bass extensions down to right, 50 Hertz. So I do recommend using a subwoofer with them. Unless you're in a small room and you're just doing music, you're going to be fine. They're very reasonably high sensitivity. They're about 89 dB, and that's at 2.83 volts. And an actual honest anechoic sensitivity rating. We actually measured that, and we found the same sensitivity that Paradigm spec'd. And they claim it's compatible with 8 ohms, but in reality, this speaker is a 6 ohm speaker and it dips down to 4 ohms in about 150 to 200 Hertz range. So you want to use a reasonably stout amplifier. A good mid-level or higher end receiver should power these speakers just fine. I had the Denon PMA in here, which is 80 watts a channel, which actually can drive much more power than that amplifier is spec'd for. So that drove these things great. I'm using a Marantz SR8015 right now to power the system, never have a problem. The center channel I want to talk to you about, I've got the 500C. Now I was surprised by this because it's a small center channel, but the thing that's really cool about it is Paradigm implemented what's called the WTMW driver topology. So that's where you have woofers on each side, then you have a mid-range and a tweeter. The advantage of doing that over a regular MTM placed horizontally is you get much better off-axis response. And we actually found when we measured the speaker, it had a wider dispersion characteristic than the Premier 800Fs. And sitting on the couch, whether I sat on any 4 of my seats, I was getting very good vocal intelligibility. And what I was impressed by is that the driver complement in the center channel is smaller. They have 2 5.25s. They only have a 4-inch mid-range and then the 1-inch tweeter. So I was expecting them not to sound as large as these speakers, but in actuality, they had the high sensitivity these speakers have, and they have plenty of dynamic output to fill this room with satisfying levels. Now, if you're in a very large room and you have more output requirements than we had in here, they do have a larger version of the center channel with bigger drivers. It has a passive radiator system in it. It's called the 600C, I'm sorry. But I think this is a very good system, matched extremely well. The towers retail for $2,000 a pair. The center channel retails for $800. It's a really truthful speaker, in my opinion, for this price point, because you could spend this amount of money on multitudes of different speakers and they all have different tonal characteristics. I would say if you want accuracy, that this is your speaker, especially if you're mating it with a subwoofer. And I love the in-ceiling speakers that Paradigm provided for this system. The Elite 65Rs are just spectacular sounding. And the 80A, which the angled baffle speaker, was a real surprise to me. That's an 8-inch driver on a 30-degree angle with the tweeter. I couldn't put side or back channels because this is a family room that's open to a kitchen. So what I did was I put the 80As slightly behind and wider apart than my Atmos speakers. And I've got incredibly good immersive effect. Even though all my speakers, my surround speakers are on the ceiling, I really do hear the layers of the sound because those 80As are angled directly at the listener, whereas the Atmos speakers are just firing down and they're closer together and further in front. So this is an incredibly good 5.2.4 system. It looks good. The Paradigm finish has 3 options here. They have a gloss black, a gloss white, and I think this is like the espresso color that we got. They also have magnetic grills. My wife actually told me to keep the grills off because she likes that little perforated lens. The look looks really cool. It's a very narrow speaker. It doesn't take up a big footprint. It's only about 42 inches tall and it's reasonably deep. So I was really impressed with this system. I'm curious about what kind of system you guys are looking for. Are you into Paradigm speakers? What do you own? I want to hear from Paradigm owners. Have you heard these 800F speakers? Now, we spent 5 or 6 months with these speakers. Our next look in this system is going to be the Paradigm Founders. Now, the Founders are a much more expensive speaker than these. I'm hoping that I get as good or better sound with the Founders than I do with these, because I'm telling you, this is the high valued roller in the Paradigm line. Now these speakers have been out for a long time, and there's a reason why they've been out, because they perform really well and they're very satisfying. I haven't had a single person come in here and say, you know what, your system doesn't sound good. And at the end of the day, what matters most is how it sounds to you. We're very happy with this system. I think you will be too. So if you like this video, please thumb it up. Please share the video. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. We appreciate your support. You can get direct access to me if you want to ask questions or suggest video topics. And until next time, my friends, keep listening.
It keeps, I don't know, the mic is moving, but it sounds like it's static.
Ready? What about now?
Better.
Okay. Am I in a good position?
Yes.
So I like the way it looks. This is borrowed from the Persona series, which is their much more expensive. It's their premier line of